Welcome back to Joe's Stunner Boxing. There was a good battle of unbeatens between XANDER Zayas and Slawa Spomer, who I didn't know a great deal about. In fact, I knew virtually nothing about Mr. Spomer before this fight. XANDER Zayas is from Puerto Rico, and Mr. Spomer, Slawa Spomer, is from Germany. And I think he's from Kazakhstan or somewhere like that. Yeah, Eastern European. It's one of the smaller Eastern European countries. But they had identical records. They both had 20 wins, no draws, no defeats. Now, Zayas I knew about. Now, he was he's very, very good amateur, very good amateur. I think he was an Olympian. I don't follow the amateur game much at all, but he was an Olympian, and it really showed in his skills because he's got very, very well-schooled ability. Boxes beautifully. He stands, quite upright, very much a sort of boxer-puncher, has all the tricks in the book, all the punches in the book, likes to counter-punch, likes to punch with the opponent as the opponent comes in, which Mr. Slawa Spomer certainly did. He was very much a pressure fighter. But Zayas, there isn't anything he can't do. He doesn't do everything excellently, but there's some real nice skills going on there with XANDER Zayas. And he's only 22 years old. He's 5'10", and we're talking super welterweights here. So very, very impressive, skillful guy. I suppose what would his best win be? I mean, he had a win over Patrick Teixeira. That was last year, and that was a 10-round decision, unanimous decision. Very good learning fight for him, very good for a 22-year-old to go in with a veteran like that. And I know Teixeira has seen better days, but it was a good win. And he's beaten people like Roberto Valenzuela, who had 25-4 record. His last fight was against Damian Sosa, who was 25-2. So this kid's been brought along very, very well, very well. He hasn't been rushed because he had 20 fights coming into this bout. But I really like what I see. Very, very good fighter. Possibly the next Puerto Rican superstar, you might say. Now, Slawa Spomer, I knew very little about him. Like I say, he's from Kyrgyzstan or somewhere like that. Well, I couldn't probably pronounce the name of the country right. I know I've never been there. But he's 32 years old, so he was 10 years older than Zayas. Based in Germany, and interestingly, he has Roy Jones Jr. as a trainer. Now, Roy Jones Jr. has trained other fighters. He trained Chris Eubank Jr. for a few fights. And very often, Hall of Fame fighters, truly great fighters, which Jones certainly was, they don't make great trainers simply because their natural ability was so off the chart brilliant that they can't quite get their head around the fact that people they're teaching can't do the same thing or can't, maybe not, I'm not just saying do the same thing as well as the Hall of Famer, but they can't really get their head around the sort of, strange sort of athleticism. Like if you look at Jones, I mean, as an athlete, he was so brilliant, and he did virtually everything technically wrong, but he had such quick reflexes, hit so hard, and was so brilliant overall that it didn't matter that he was making technical mistakes. Now, you can't give that. You can't have someone like that trying to teach the same mistakes, if you like, to a guy who is, leagues and leagues below the Hall of Famer in terms of talent. And Slawa Spomer is a very capable fighter. Clearly, I don't know virtually nothing about him, but looking at him against Zayas, yeah, he gave Zayas a good fight. But, in terms of Roy Jones, I mean, it's almost not the same sport. But then neither is it for most fighters compared to Roy Jones. And Spomer very much is a come forward fighter. Puts pressure on the opponent, gets in close, and lets his hands go. And that's not to say he's a crude slugger, far from it. I think he had a fight. His last fight, I think, was in Dubai against a journeyman. He had a 1-round knockout. But prior to that, all his fights have been in Germany. And there are absolutely no killers on his record whatsoever. I mean, very, very few names that I even recognise when I looked at his box rec prior to doing the video. But he's clearly a capable guy, because he did bring it to XANDER ZAYAS. And it was the difference in schooling, the difference in ability, in raw talent, if you like, was palpable. But that's not to say that Spomer didn't have, he wasn't making Zayas work. He was, and he was having little pockets of success. No, he was being kind of outboxed for the first 3 rounds, but wasn't really shaken. I mean, within the first minute, his nose was bleeding, so he was being hit. But he didn't lose his game plan. He didn't lose his shape. He kept coming forward. He kept throwing punches. He was there to win, and you could tell he was there to win. He wasn't there to go the distance. And for the first 3 rounds, he made Zayas, box sensibly. Obviously, both guys are fresh at that point. And Zayas was winning the rounds. In the 4th round, towards the end of it, Zayas seemed to sort of really get through with a strong barrage of punches and let the punches go, and he went through the gears. And Spomer, for the first time, looked uncomfortable. But here's the thing. When Zayas moved in, Spomer landed was it a left hook or a right hand? I can't remember what it was. He's an orthodox fighter, as is Zayas. So I think it was a right hand that landed on Zayas and shook him. I wouldn't say he was totally buzzed, but it definitely shook him. And he sort of, not stumbled backwards, but sort of there was a bit of a tottering motion going on. And that was right at the end of the 4th round. And it just sent a little warning signal to Zayas and his corner that don't get sloppy with this guy. Because he is a thinking fighter. He doesn't have your skill level, but he does have your desire, your motivation. And at 32, of course, he's a grown man. He's got his man strength and everything. XANDER ZAYAS, sometimes when you're that young, 22, you can have all the skills. Your talent can be apparent, but you haven't quite got your man strength. If you haven't quite got your man strength, it might mean that you haven't quite got your ability to absorb punishment yet. So it was a little warning to Zayas at the end of that 4th round. But normal service was resumed. Spomer, having taken a bit of a beating towards the end of that round, carried on as normal, moving forward, letting his hands go. The moment he came into the range, he was letting his hands go, trying to draw Zayas into a shootout. To be honest, on the occasions when Zayas did hold his feet and let the punches go, he was kind of matching Spomer. It's just that it was a fight he didn't need to do. He didn't need to fight that sort of fight. What he needed to do was stick to his boxer punching, maybe keep it at sort of mid to long range rather than allow Spomer to get close, because every time Spomer was coming in, he was having to weather punches coming straight at him. Not all of them landed. Zayas struck me as being a very accurate fighter, but Spomer, to his credit, he was blocking quite a few of them. And then there was, this sort of, it was sort of rinse and repeat really for some of the rounds, but it wasn't dull and it wasn't entirely one-sided. It was one of those cases where you thought one guy's winning most of the rounds, which was Zayas, but the other guy's still in the fight. He's still working hard. This was only a 10-rounder, by the way, not a 12-rounder. And then I think, well, anyway, the fight, look, it was pretty much repetitive, bit of give and take here and there, but mostly Zayas winning the rounds right up until the 9th, when Zayas found, the key to the door, and he found it with a big left hook to the liver. We fainted as if the punch was coming up top, and then he banged the left hook into the liver. And Spomer, for the first time, looked really hurt, because he sort of almost sat down, fell backwards though, wasn't on the floor, and clearly that punch had got to him. And then Zayas moved in, letting his hands go, looking for the finish, looking for the kill. Spomer sort of slid around the ropes, along the ropes. He tried to take centre ring, but he had to retreat to the ropes. Zayas was letting his hands go, was landing 70% of what he was landing. He landed another big left hook to the body, which, whatever you say about Spomer, I mean, the guy's got durability. The guy can really hang tough. And Zayas wasn't going to be denied. He was after that second left hook to the body, which sort of prevented Spomer from being able to sort of counter or let his own hands go. The referee jumped in and stopped it about 2 minutes into the 9th round. And Spomer did complain. He was like, "What are you doing? You know, I'm okay." He hadn't been on the floor. That's how tough the guy is. Because Zayas is, it's not just Zayas's power, because he's now got 13 stoppages in 21 fights. I think the power will increase as he does fill out and get his man strength. But it's the accuracy and it's the speed that does you in as well. And the fact that he did start as a pro young, very young, and has got some 10-rounders in, puts him in good stead for doing the distance, for understanding the distance and being able to, pace himself and go through the gears. He did that perfectly against Slawa Spomer. But I've got to say, Spomer impressed me as well. He impressed me with his guts, his motivation. 32 years old, only had one fight out of Germany. He goes all the way to New York. This was on the undercard of Baranchik and Keyshawn Davis. And he gave a good account of himself. I was a little sad for him that he didn't last the distance, but all credit to XANDER ZAYAS. This kid's going to be a star, I think. And for Spomer, I mean, I don't know, drop back down to EBU level. I don't think he's held any titles. He might have held a couple of the WBO, WBC trinkets or whatever they are, but I don't think he's ever been EBU champ, but I'd go back down and see what's available there, because the bloke can fight. But I'm looking forward to seeing XANDER ZAYAS again. I think he's a very, very impressive kid. He only had 2 fights last year against Teixeira and Damian Sosa. And again, they were both distance fights. They were both 10-rounders. So he got 20 good rounds, learning rounds in against decent opposition. But now he's picking up a bit of spite, a bit of power, maybe. A few more stoppages. But let me know what you think of him. XANDER ZAYAS, making it as a pro, I think. Let me know, comments below, and please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit the like button as well, because they count the likes apparently. But hit the subscribe button. We've got plenty more videos for you. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.